All right, we're back. I'm all socked up. All right, hopefully that fixes some of the audio spikes y'all might have been hearing, but it was hard to keep quiet during that matchup. It kind of started a bit slow, but I think that was the expectation here, beatdown, because of the compositions that we were looking at. It certainly did not end slowly, though.
No, it started slow for like 5-6 minutes, I think it was, and once the kills started raining, it started pouring, Jolly, and it just ended up being a really good game from 100 Thieves next. I mean, just kind of further proving their coach this point where they feel like they've been coasting throughout most of this tournament here. Again, overwhelming favorites, so not the biggest surprise. And I think now AOE switching sides after that first game, maybe going to shift the game plan a little bit around, because I think they highlighted on the desk, but playing that kind of poke comp, it doesn't seem to work very well for AOE. You need Skytech, especially, I think, on these more hard engaged support type champions, Nautilus, Leona, things like that, where he can have more of that early game impact, because beyond that, in the early game, he wasn't able to do as much as we're used to seeing from him.
And that was, one of the final bans. I think it was actually AOE that ended up, no, it was 100 Thieves, their final ban being the Leona there.
Yes.
And I think, obviously being on the blue side, that means that you kind of adjust your ban priorities as well, because you do get that first pick selection. So maybe focusing a little bit more, still probably gonna try to include the Graves in that ban, of course. Last time it was 100 Thieves that banned that one away, but you really don't want to give Fnatic another easy engage or another high damage dealer like that has a lot of mobility around the map. The question is then, who do you try to stifle out? Because at this point, if it's not going to be the bottom lane, which is where AOE was clearly trying to get some of their own priority, and they did get the first couple of kills down towards their own bottom side of the map, how else do you find success against a team that's just so stacked towards the top half of the map?
I think it's attack that top half of the map. We were talking about it pre-show going into the series. That's what we need to see from AOE. They tried in some instances, but their draft wasn't really letting them do so in game one. So now, going into this game two, I think that is the general idea you want to go for against 100 Thieves next. Again, try to set Fnatic back, try to set Sniper back, so that they don't build these monumental leads that we saw 100 next generate in the earlier parts of game one. That's all you can really hope for here going into this game two, but so far, it's been a brutal one. If you predicted 2-0, I think that first game probably making you feel pretty good.
Yeah, we always hate to see it, right? And maybe that is the expected outcome. Obviously, the desk felt pretty confidently about that. We had a little bit more of a split within the chat predictions that were going on, but at the end of the day, something is going to have to change from AOE if this game is going to be any different from that game number one. And I think part of that has to do with, waiting so long as well to get the counter pick, or what they tried to maybe kind of counter pick that top lane response, right? There was no Jace available, which is definitely an easy go-to, and they were trying to look for an initiator, but without having the range on somebody like Malphite, it ended up kind of biting them, because there really isn't any way to push that game quicker to the late game, and that just meant 100 Thieves was able to sway that in their own favorable direction. So I want to see exactly what you're talking about, a little bit more focus there, maybe not trying so hard to get pressure on the bottom side, because I don't really think at the end of the day that even if they did get a bit of a snowball down towards that bot, that it's going to be enough to win the game.
Right, and now as we get into draft again, sides have been swapped. AOE may change the game plan up in terms of what kind of things they're going to look for in terms of picking bans. We could see, instead of, because you're likely not going to be able to get counter picking your solo lanes on blue, give Zamudo one of the strong side picks. Although we do see him on a lot of tank picks, things like Ornn, things like the Malphite we just saw in game one. We've also seen him on the more carry champions, seen him play Jace, seen him play Gangplank, seen him play the Gwen, particularly another champ that is honestly pretty strong right now, especially on the blue side. I kind of want to see if AOE lean more towards that, try to enable him to see if they can win on the top side of the map.
I will say, the Gwen obviously is really good, but man, if there is a Fiora that is counterpicked into that, you're kind of done, right? Like, it's kind of foregoing that lane in a sense. Gwen does not fare well at all against a champion like Fiora, and so I like the idea of trying to get that counter pick ability, but I do think priority should be on champions like Jace that are going to be a little bit harder for an aggressive player like Sniper to shut down, especially with a little bit of early game damage. And that's kind of what I want to see from AOE, maybe that early game damage. Don't wait so long. Don't put so much investment into trying to go for a late game playstyle, because unless you can guarantee some sort of lane victory in multiple areas against a team like 100 Thieves, it's not worth wasting your time.
So far, 100 Next, already kind of thinking about what we've been talking about there, targeting the top lane a little bit, again with some of these bans, taking away Zamudo's Gangplank, and taking away the Graves once more. And AOE, interestingly enough, not interested in playing the Wukong despite its high priority for a lot of other teams in Amateur. They just ban it away themselves. And I like the Talia ban as well, because that's something that 100 Next definitely can play, with Darkwings being a big Talia player in the mid lane historically.
100 Next, they're like, it worked the first game. Let's not change it. It's the exact same 3 bans. Doesn't matter the side that they're on. They are giving up the potential for that Graves, because that is one that either if you're AOE on the blue side, you're either banning it or you're taking it away first pick. But that means they're able to lock in a bit of a flex pick right here. Lucian. I mean, hey, we're talking about initiation, we're talking about damage, but we're also talking about the ability to disengage or re-engage. Lucian provides all of that.
So, and that's the thing too, we wanted to see more pressure. Well, we're talking about pressure on the top side of the map, but also overall, more early game agency for AOE Esports. Lucian, likely going to be paired with the Nami, is probably something where we are going to see that one come through. But already the Aphelios makes me think we're going to see that Aphelios Lulu in the bottom side, because even once Lucian Nami became so very popular, I think it was last year, maybe even like the year before, or when they changed Lucian's passive, what ended up happening was that people started playing Aphelios Lulu, and it ended up being a lane that could sustain all that early burst that they were looking for here. They aren't going to pick the Lulu just yet, just because Lucian Lulu isn't as popular as a combination. They'd rather secure the Viego for Fnatic, a champion he's performed very well on, and honestly, it offers you so much flexibility in your early game decisions.
It really does, and I mean, Fnatic is just stellar on this champion. Also, knowing that you have the Aphelios already locked in, especially if you're planning on going with somebody like the Lulu, it gives a lot of kind of space for Fnatic to take a little bit of extra time, maybe focus a little bit more on the mid or the top lanes, which they would like to do anyway. Kind of that sustainability that's going to be available now on the bottom side for 100 Thieves. I do like the Volibear lock-in, and just as you were anticipating, the matchup with the Lucian here will likely be the Tidecaller herself into that Nami. You've got the crowd control, more sustainability. Again, I was talking about her and Janna just being insane, these shielding champions being absolutely ludicrous right now. So we'll have to see if 100 Thieves does lock in that Lulu right now, or leaves it up to potentially be banned in phase number 2. Nope, they're not going to take that chance. That is the lock. Jungle and bottom both decided for these teams.
Makes a lot of sense. And Lulu, so good paired with those hyper carries that scaled really well into the later games, whether it's Jinx, whether it's Kog'Maw, or Aphelios. So it ends up being, even though you don't have a lot of CC on that bottom side of the map, you still have a bit of disengage with the Whimsy, the Polymorph, as we all know, and you still have plenty of CC from the jungle to be able to set up plays when Fnatic shows up to that bottom side of the map. I think you just need a little more CC towards that top side there in terms of team fighting here, because it's looking like 100 Next are looking towards more of a front to back, but I think so far it's been a good answer for them in this draft.
The Azir, once again, respect bans coming through out of AOE. The Talia, the Azir, basically these these restrictive kind of mid laners that we know Darkwings loves to play and really excels on, along with that early game damage is not something that AOE wants to deal with. They're going to have to figure out exactly how they want to address this mid lane, though, because you really can't give Darkwings any of this additional room in this space, and by narrowing out Darkwings' picks, you're also narrowing your own as a team.
Right, and interestingly enough, we see the Sylas ban prompting the Twisted Fate ban, something that maybe Darkwings was going to look to go for, but instead, it's going to end up being the Swain. And I think that I like this one a lot, because already the Lucian Nami and the Volibear, pretty short range. Volibear being melee and Lucian being a short range carry, means that you're playing into this Swain's range, and this is the rework Swain, as we've all seen these last couple of weeks, who is actually, honestly, pretty strong in the mid lane as it is. So that ends up being a nice pick as Sniper, of course, gets that counter pick in the top side.
There it is. That is a good sign here, at least. AOE, they've got the damage we're looking for. They've got a little bit more space to deal with. I like the Syndra as well. It has not officially been... Oh, yes, it is locked in on that. A lot of damage. More of exactly what we're talking about that kind of falls in line with what AOE was going for, maybe with the last composition, but didn't directly hit the bullseye of, is getting that lockdown, but also providing a little bit more burst damage on top of the initiation that they provide within their kits.
So Syndra, A champion Young has definitely been playing a lot, even in this tournament, even though it's a champ that isn't very popular, isn't considered very good at the moment. Your ability to use skirmish early, have a lot of CC, does make this mid-jungle duo pretty potent in terms of early game skirmishing and things like that, and that's what AOE seems to be going for here. We see more often than not AOE giving Young the best matchup they can so that he can get that push. We talked about it going into champs like for game 1. So Young getting this push means Winnie, means Skytech can get a little more aggressive with invades and how they want to play the game so that they can stifle junglers like Fnatic, who are usually very active in the early game. So now you do have a lot of skirmishing on this top side of the map here for AOE, but the thing is too, you have a lot of early game power, and I think that's my biggest concern with this team. You have the Fiora on the top side, who if you manage to use these leads, translate them to that top lane, and make it so Zamudo is miles ahead like Sniper was in the last game, it's fine. I think it can work out. But Syndra, Lucian, if you don't get these big leads in the earlier parts of the game, Belios, Swain, Jace, you're going to get steamrolled.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, you're looking more towards the bottom, the middle parts of the pack here for AOE as we head into game number 2, match point for 100 Thieves x AOE. They need to win this one to stay in the series, and it's an improvement, right? But when I'm looking at these two compositions just kind of laid out on the table in front of us, I have to acknowledge that the power and the flexibility is still in favor of 100 Thieves going into this game too.
I agree. I think we're seeing kind of AOE Esports rubber band in their draft a little bit, where in the first game, it was pretty much all scaling, very little early game agency. Now in this game, it's very much the opposite. You have a lot of early game agency with some of these champs and their ability to get prio, skirmish early, and pick up early kills. But again, you don't find big leads as AOE. That first 15 minutes, around that third Drake fight, if you're not significantly ahead, you have a serious problem.
Yes. And a serious problem against 100 Thieves is not something that you want to have. It's not something that's easily recoverable right here. And we're starting with an Infernal Drake as well, so both of these teams are going to want to make a move on that one as quickly as possible. We can see some nice deep vision placed there ahead of time by 100 Thieves because the anticipation, you got to expect Fnatic is going to clear half his jungle and invade. He does it almost every time. There are not rules that tend to be able to be applied to Fnatic, but that is one that almost always can be.
You could see it. That one would be a little dangerous, though. The Volibear early levels, one of the stronger jungles in terms of skirmishing, and actually has pretty decent early clear as well. So unless they have vision, unless they're sure of where this Volibear is, I'm not 100% sure that's going to be Fnatic's best course of action. Of course, though, with Lucian Nami, I think it's not too hard to guess that Winnie is probably going to be pathing top to bot because, well, when you get Lucian Nami, they're your main characters.
Yes, they really are, and they provide so much in the later game, but just like you said earlier, you need to get a little bit of a lead here for them. That or Young, who's going to have a lot of pressure because it's kind of the opposite for them on this one. They have that early game damage that we said that they needed, but they don't really have what they were going for in the previous game, which would be that late game resiliency, that ability to kind of come back maybe from behind if 100 Thieves next does manage to find an early lead.
Speaking of early leads, we already see early game options starting to form here for 100 next. Fnatic is going for the 3 camp, just hit level 3, and with his bot lane pushed in, he could actually look to gank on that bottom side. They even have that vision from Dark Wings, although it was cleared. They know Winnie is on the Raptors. They know he's going for the full clear. We could very well see an early play happen here on this bottom side of the map, but I guess Fnatic is pathing away from it. He's not interested in it.
Look at all the damage already that has been applied to Lens right there, though, and Sword, yes, does have the ability to get some shielding, throw things down, but it's a lot of mana that you're going to have to utilize to provide that. So already some really good pressure coming out of AOE Esports. You just got to be careful of that Viego I was talking about, that Fnatic who loves to invade and gank very early on.
And I like this, actually, this hover from Fnatic before recalling. It's just to make sure that he's out of vision, but, I mean, a very common play when you see these bottom lanes come through is that 3 camp, 4 camp clear from someone like a Volibear to show up for that dive on that 4th wave. But because he hasn't shown up, Fnatic's just going to go ahead and recall, move his way back up to the top side of the map. But I like the intelligence there. Just covering for his bot laner. Again, the early levels, that's with Lucian Nami. So dangerous, so powerful, and so likely to get these early kills.
Yeah, and a good, a potential opportunity, right? If AOE does decide to be insanely aggressive, and you can see that 100 Thieves is maybe kind of prodding them for that a little bit, okay, with the pressure already being towards their tower here, or on the bottom side. AOE Esports prepping nicely, though, for some potential early invades. We can see the wards have been placed 2 to 3 separate 3 parts here along the bottom side of this river, as well as stacking up towards the top half. So part of this, yes, is their ability to invade, but it's also just to ensure that they know where Fnatic is. Lens is going to be the first one to go down for sure. It's Lynx who manages to pick up the kill. The cleanse has to be used there, and SkyTech with a fantastic ignite is going to force Sword back with a few autos. There's the Light Slinger, proc a couple extra auto attacks, and force the remainder of the bottom lane from 100 Thieves back.
Already, that early lead we were talking about, no jungle intervention needed. That just ends up being a nice play from the bot lane of AOE Esports. It's actually a good bit. Golden XP that Lens is going to end up losing on. And you're already seeing this start to grow. That's first blood. 20 CS in favor of Lynx here on the solution. This is what we were talking about needed to happen for AOE Esports. These early leads needed to be generated so that they can translate them into that win before 100 next scale up into the late game. And that's going to continue on by using this priority they've gotten for themselves to start stacking dragons. You already see it. Winston's on this side of the map. The caution pings. Only he is known to 100 Thieves to be in that area, but ultimately, especially after the recall that Lynx has got, all that money he is able to spend, it's going to be easy for Winston to go for the first dragon.
Yep. You got to feel pretty good. And Winston has also been spending a very good majority of his time down here. Like I said, they layered down some really early vision. And part of that is just to keep eyes on Fnatic, but it's also to get some pressure here. And the second that this dragon is up, they're going to be able to make a move. This should not be contested. Fnatic stuck in the back on his Gromp. In fact, a full recall actually coming in out of Young. And the pressure's still there for AoE in the bottom side. This definitely feels like the exact sway that they were looking for in this matchup.
Right, everything going well for AOE Esports in the early game. We're already seeing it. Winston actually has a bit of a farm lead over Fnatic, who is just going to continue going back to his camps, and they got that first dragon. So this is a good first step here for AoE, and at this point, Fnatic, nothing to farm, is again going to show, potentially cover for his bot lane, just out of vision, to see if Lynx and SkyTech get a little too aggressive.
Nice little bubble right there by SkyTech. That does mean that there's some damage that still comes through out of Lens. Fnatic there in the wings. I don't actually think Fnatic was spotted. Of course, now he is. Lynx and SkyTech have the mobility to back out of this one. And Winnie is in the wings as well.
Yeah, uses the Herald's Path just to show his presence and is trying to help get that wave shove in. But Lynx, SkyTech, they're being annoying. They're buying time for Winston. I don't think this is actually a play they want to be going for here. I think just ends up being the wave. I'm not sure if it got shoved in, but that was pretty much what Fnatic was going for there. I think it is. I think they're good.
Yeah, and you can see Winnie there coming around as well, trying to buy a little bit of time for Young to move down. And it was a good attempt. It was good pressure, and the mobility is still there from AoE, but it's going to be engagement actually coming out of 100 Thieves. A beautifully timed flash from SkyTech means that he's not going to go down, but it's still 3 versus 2 here in the bottom lane. Should be enough for AoE to pressure him back.
And now, actually still, they're trying to hold this wave, and it is preventing Fnatic going to go for the recall that he wants to. So he's hanging back. Few extra seconds here. It is ending up using a lot of his time. His camps have already respawned on that top side of the map, but it's Winnie here, who's already level 6, looking to either invade his steel camps, look for the dive on Sniper. There is a wave stacking into his Sniper's turret.
Something is certainly getting stirred up here. In the meantime, 100 Thieves, as much as they've been pressured down on this bottom side of the map, it looks like they're still going to be able to pick up one of those plates, or 1.5, almost 2 plates, towards the bottom side. Still behind on gold, though, and a lot of that has to do with the presence of Winnie all over the map. 58 to 40 is what we're looking at in terms of that CS. Winnie finding a beautiful jump right there on a Sniper, bringing up the storm. Zamundo wants that kill, and it will be handed to him. Winnie, big support.
Nice and easy so far. Everything going very well for AoE in this early game, to the point where Fnatic, not many options available, but the dive onto Lynx.
And it looked really clean. Fnatic is going to end up
the wild growth,
barely staying alive. The wild growth, perfect timing. Fnatic gets out of that. 100 Thieves comes out ahead.
it's a big deal that he doesn't get traded for this one because it means no gold goes to Lynx. He drops both his summoners, dies anyway, is going to lose out on that big wave, and it allows Lens to kind of get himself back into this game. He was down 20 CS before in a kill. Now he's got a kill under his belt, 2 placed to his name, and just like that, it's Aphelios. He's playing League of Legends again, Jolly. And the big thing now, though, that of course, when he was able to secure the Rift Herald off all the priority from this exact play we're seeing right here, timing from Sniper, a little unlucky, realizes, maybe I should drop a ward, realizes he's getting dropped instead.
It's good communication that we're getting here. A lot of props to Winnie on this one because it has really been these impactful plays that Winnie has been making, and the patience too out of Fnatic to respond to this one was great. Still, I feel like I gotta watch this one in slow motion. The hit coming through right as we get the wild growth popping up. My God, that was single-digit health. It has to have been.
Yep, a lot of level 6s needed to be there for that one to go as well as it did, Jolly, and it went well. It was perfect. But it's still, all that pressure on this bottom side means Fnatic falls a little further behind and clear. You can see the gold reflected in that here, where Lynx, Young, Zamudo, they're the ones with the most gold in the game at the moment here, and that's a spot you need to be in with this draft AOE Esports have gotten for themselves. And you got to imagine that Rift Herald, when he has is in his back pocket, going to contribute to that one as well. You can see him on this bottom side of the map. I mean, it would just be perfect. You make the dive happen on the bot side there. You get more kills under Lynx's belt. You drop the Herald, and you start breaking the turret so you can rotate him around the map and continue to advance this lead.
Love that. Winston on Volibear, 17 and 5, a 4.68 KD, but I think the bigger number right there is 65% kill participation. Honestly, the range on his E is pretty insane. The fact that it is the AOE, but it just has to be basically that little Venn diagram, right? That little overlap just barely has to be there. So it really allows a lot of opportunity for some of these engagements to be made here. And Winnie just playing it overall incredibly well. That means the AOE continues to have pressure in all of these lanes. And now Fnatic is forced to sort of play proactively in some of these instances as the next dragon of the game drops down. Fnatic looking for the initiation, gets the lockdown on to Lynx.
Oh, he caught him!
The ultimate, the Heartbreaker is certainly one at that. There is the polymorph on to Winnie, the flash forward. The bubble will lock down one, but it's not going to be enough. Sword manages to pick up another one. Skytech on the run. Lens, will he be able to get enough damage down? Not without taking too many tower shots, so he smartly backs away.
And that's brutal. Jolly, everything AOE Esports have worked for in this early game is gone. Just like that. The fact that Fnatic manages to pick up that kill, Lens is picking up more assists, is getting to farm more freely. Lynx getting caught out there hurts so much of what AOE Esports were trying to do in this early game. They had a lead. Maybe it was small, but they were going to be able to turn that into more. But instead, Fnatic finds the opening. The rest of 100 Next are with him, and they slow down the dragon stacking. They find themselves now in a small but still impactful early lead.
Look at the vision as well that has been placed down on the opposite side of that dragon pit here by 100 Thieves Next. This is where their mentality changes. This is where you know exactly what they're thinking. They decide, all right, we're going to kind of hole up here towards the bottom. That's where AOE has been finding a lot of pressure, and that means that we can make... I mean, it's a proactive, reactive play in a sense, right? Wait for them to push forward to where they think they're somewhere safe, and then find some sort of pinch onto them. But whether or not Fnatic's going to be able to make that jump without having his summoner spells available is the question.
All right, so very least now, you do get a lot of extra gold back in your pockets as AOE. That first turret gold, it is shared among 3 members, but it is still impactful gold nonetheless. We still have plates, maybe a minute and a bit, so probably won't see Lynx rotated around and pick up more plates, but we could still see him move to the top side there and have a switch between them and Zamudo. Either way, getting gold back into this Lucian's pocket is important. 100 Next, though, still not as behind as they were early on, especially when it comes to that bot lane matchup. We talked about how impactful Ilios, Lulu are going to be in the later games if you don't put them in the dirt.
They're definitely not in the dirt. 1-1-2, 1-0-2. That is the opposite of what you really want with a team like this, especially when Sword is so pivotal in a lot of these plays. Sniper now finding a lot of additional pressure, a little bit over 30 seconds left on these plates, and he's going to lock down yet another one. The rest of the team is behind him. The culling is going to come out. The Ignite on top of it. Sniper trying to get the E to back away from this one. The flash forward from Lynx will secure it.
Well, that ends up being a pretty big play there from the bot lane of AOE Esports. It cost them almost all their summoners. But you get another kill. You punish Sniper, who was overextending just a little bit there, getting hit by the tidal wave. Really happy with that. Because we got another play on this bottom side of the map that might just be over.
Yeah. Darkwings does have a lot of survivability in this Swain. Doesn't have the first item built yet, but has a stopwatch available in his pocket. Young getting caught out there by Fnatic, but able to provide quite a bit of damage here in response. Lynx trying to find some pressure here to kind of clap back on what Sniper just stole away from his own tower. But that's both summoners now down from Sniper. That means Lynx and Skytech looking for another play. Sniper already down to half health immediately after TPing back to his lane.
We're still at that point where Lucian Nami is very strong. They are no joke. Sniper really feeling the pressure there. Has to remember he has no flash available either. But overall, gold is even. 100 next have a dragon. I think it's still fair to say AOE are in a bit of a tough spot. They need to get control over this bottom side of the map once more. Secure vision so that they are going to be able to continue stacking dragons. Because that's a major win condition for them with this composition that they have, and they've already been slowed.
And I think slowed is kind of, you know, part of what AOE now is going for. Almost completely caught back up in gold. There it is, the tidal wave to come through. Link should be able to do a lot of damage. Will he go down, though? Yes, Sniper manages to take him down. The Stormbringer, maybe not enough. The W needs to be committed. He's not going to get it on the backside. Fnatic actually manages to split the fight apart and finds the double kill, taking down both Skytech and Lynx. Now Winnie has to get the heck out of here. It's going to be the Heartbreaker coming through from Fnatic. Just a little bit more damage. Fnatic's able to take these tower shots. He's got Sword on the backside. It's just barely not going to be enough. Good timing from Young to show his face.
And well played from Sniper, living through that play, despite not having that flash available, being able to walk away from that while Fnatic secures the double. That's 3-0 for the jungler of 100 Thieves next. And Young, who's coming up to pick up the slack, is actually in a lot of trouble.
Sword's gonna take a tower shot or two, and it's Winnie with the flash stun that we have been waiting for. Should be able to pick up a double. The teleport coming through. Young is so dangerously low, though, almost getting taken down by the minions here. Darkwings cannot get in. That means that the lockdown is gonna come from the 4 remaining members here of AOE Esports. Lynx throwing out the culling over the wall. Darkwings is going to be able to flash away from the bubble. He's going to secure the one. The ultimate is down and out, but he's dealing so much damage to Skytech, and Winnie is so low. It's up to Lynx, who is able to get the shutdown there.
Wow, a lot just took place there, Jolly.
Yeah.
But I think the highlight...
You go for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, props to your lungs for that one. But AOE Esports definitely answering back, committing the teleport, try and save Young. Ended up walking away from that one miraculously, which must have been single-digit health. But either way, I think as we look at the map as a whole, I mean, you're still honestly in a pretty okay spot as 100 Thieves next. I mean, you have Lynx, who has quite the lead here. You see the bounty starting to form, and that is good. Actually, if we could check the gold, that'd be great. But ultimately, you're not able to secure this next dragon. You're still in a lot of danger as AOE Esports. I mean, you have Lens, you just spent a good amount of money showing up to help push this wave. You have no priority over this Dragon Pit. AOE might want to play for the steal. Darkwings isn't actually here.
Good, it's very low. There's the opportunity. No, it is going to be Fnatic who picks this one up. They get the kill. Let's see if Fnatic can follow it up with the Heartbreaker that he's looking for. He does not get the positioning that he wants. Darkwings now is going to be the target. Has to use the ultimate to stay alive, and it's the ulti in response from Young that takes him down to almost nothing, but they're still going to be able to get out alive.
And that's the thing you want. You take the dragon, you're stacking them on your own side as 100 next, and you manage to walk away. Even though it costs summoners, you're not giving any gold back. In fact, they might be looking to take a little bit more.
Ooh, there it is. The jump in from Winnie, who's not going to be able to do enough. The Heartbreaker comes out, and once again, it is just that. Zamudo, the next target, Fnatic flashing forward, having to jump backwards away from that one. Fnatic still staying alive, continuing the engage. The shutdown comes through, but it goes over to Skytech, the cooling on the backside, and Young will get taken down there by Lens. So much damage. Only one member of 100 Thieves going down to the 3 that AOE Esports have lost.
That's right, Jolly. 3 for 1. You take those any day of the week, and it's gonna be the Rift Herald to boot. 100 next. Continue to get the better of AOE Esports in these skirmishes, and we are just seeing, again, how much trouble AOE are in here as we go into this replay. Darkwings, low health. Sword, low health. But Winnie going in just before the rest of the team is able to follow up. Just slightly disconnected is something you can't do against 100 Next. They are ready for these missteps, Jolly. They are ready for these slight openings for them to be able to push further because they are not afraid to skill check you.
That, oh my gosh, that riposte. That stolen riposte from Fnatic to avoid the bubble from Skytech on the jump forward. I mean, these are just beautiful plays, and no big surprise that a lot of these miraculous plays are coming out of Fnatic and Sniper. Moments where they absolutely should go down, and they somehow managed to stay alive with almost no health after taking aggro from every single member of AOE, and that's where it is still 100 Thieves kind of writing the script for this game. When the fights actually break out, they're so good about shuffling forward their front line and adjusting where the aggro is being taken that while these situations seem scary, you can tell they're not scared.
No, they are not.
There it is.
They're
Look
going
at
in.
the damage from Sniper. Fnatic has the lockdown. There's not much that can be done. A nice little bubble is going to follow it up. But once more, just throwing something out from the rocket will pick one up. And now it is 100 Thieves next on the chase. It's Winnie and Young. A nice bubble there from Fnatic. Sword is on the backside. Gets locked down thanks to that scatter. Still not enough. It was enough, however, for Winnie to get out alive.
Just Winnie, though, out of the 3 members of AOE who were caught out on that top side of the map, and that's it. You know what time it is. Even though it's 20 minutes, you're so far ahead. You just got 2 big picks. It's Baron time for the side of 100 Thieves. Next, they are just going to burn right through it.
A lot of damage. They're only halfway done, though, and the culling is going to come out here from Lynx. He's pretty low on mana. Going to take quite a bit of damage right there in response from Dark Wings. 100 Thieves next. Still burning down this Baron, though. Not going to disconnect from this objective. Just over 2,000 health left. There it is.
Stole it!
The Stormbreaker comes through over the wall. The smite perfectly timed. Able to get the lockdown. It's a Baron steal. He does get taken down in response, but it's a win for Winnie.
That is huge. You do manage to use the Stormbringer to be able to steal the Baron, get some gold back into your pockets, even though it costs you your life. You're happy with that one if you're AOE, because 100 Next making that decision to pull the trigger on Baron, if they secured that, that would be enough for them to snowball themselves into what would literally be an insurmountable lead. So Winnie, the jungler for AOE, he buys AOE Esports time. Not that they have that much of it to deal with. Because you look at what are the win cons that they want to be playing towards here. Now you're at a point where you're behind in gold. Aphelios is at that 2-item mark, so he's in a very good position alongside Sword on the Lulu to be able to sustain, output all this DPS, and you're also down dragons. So now it's just about trying to use the Rift Herald that you have, Winnie. It's about to expire, and hopes that you can at least get some more gold back into your pocket.
Yeah, and I mean, huge for Winnie because of that, but also because Winnie himself as a player has been struggling this time, right? Had some really good plays that got him some early assists in this game. Not quite the pressure they were looking for, though, and now he's sitting at 0-3-4, and that's considering that this Follow Bear is a big means of engagement for all of AOE Esports. They need to keep Lynx alive. They need to allow this culling to pop off as much damage as possible, for Young to be able to get as much as he can from his scatters, from his ultimate, from all of it, and without Winnie able to be on the front side kind of sustaining the rest of the fight, it's becoming more and more difficult as time goes on, as the damage gets built up and up on 100 Thieves next.
Right. And all you really have to go for here is Zamudo. You can try and get him ahead right now because he is behind on his lane counterpart and Sniper. It looked like they were going to try and drop the Herald there. Oh, okay, Lynx is gone.
Ooh, Lynx is, yeah, that was, I looked away for half a second and Lynx was completely gone, and the fight is actually split. It's Winnie who has to flash over the wall. Down it goes Skytech. It's Fnatic who finds himself yet another kill, and Sniper is just going to be able to take out Winnie. No problem. Zamudo and Young, the only members left alive. Zamudo trying to push in the top side, but is it worth the trade? I would say not, especially with Sniper having this teleport available.
I was gonna say, don't even think Zamudo gets the turret here. You do have some Baroned up minions. Realistically, the gold is really starting to show Sniper. Those shock blasts, they are really starting to hurt here. So nothing is traded for Soul Point for 100 Thieves next. AOE Esports just continue to lose all across the map here. As Lens is going to secure a tier 2 turret. Darkwings and Fnatic are looking to do the same. It's just more gold. Not
a huge gold gap. We have to acknowledge that. It does end up being, of course, a loss that we see there. The last couple of seconds tick down for AOE Esports, because while Winnie was able to pick that up, he was instantly taken down. There wasn't a lot of pressure that was provided. It was really just to prevent 100 Thieves from stacking up with that Baron and getting the pressure themselves here. But again, looking at vision, I mean, this is 100 Thieves next, knowing that they have the upper hand and playing incredibly confidently because they've just kind of been in control of how these team fights play out. Even when it seems like they falter, I have to use air quotes when I say something like that, because there has not been a clean trade in favor of AOE.
No, not at all. And it only gets harder now, because even though this gold lead isn't what it was in Game 1, AOE Esports have much less scaling tools for the late game than they also did in Game 1. So this gold lead is significant for 100 Thieves next. And at this point, what you're seeing on your screen are the only options available to them here. Trying to stack on a side lane. See if you can pressure someone like Darklings or Sniper for overextending and get yourself numbers on the map so you can try to take control. But of course, the Cloud Rift does offer a lot of scrying orbs, which is very helpful. And Darklings, of course, is respecting when many members of AoE are not on the map.
Something you gotta do, though. 100 Thieves next does have a lot of speed on their own. I think that's something that benefits both of these teams right now. Obviously, you've got some dashes, you've got some security, you've got some solid lockdown coming out of AOE Esports. But when it comes to the initiations, 100 Thieves, when they decide to put the pedal to the metal, there's really no stopping them. It's either you get out of the fight before you're fully engaged upon, or you're probably going to end up going down if Winnie is not in the vicinity to throw out a Stormbringer. They're making a move, maybe, though. On to Darkwing specifically. Ooh, Winnie's going to get locked down. Out comes the culling. It's a lot of damage coming out of the backside onto Lynx. There's the tidal wave on top of it. Darkwing's going to have to flash away from the Zamudo looking at the backside. Lynx is going to pick up the 1 kill. Winnie takes a lot of damage. There's a stopwatch coming out from Fnatic, who gets locked down. Will get shut down there by Zamudo. Lynx still in this fight. A solid polymorph, but it's probably not going to be enough for Lens to get out of this one alive. But back into the fight is Sniper. Sword is here to back up Lens. Look at the damage, the speed that is coming out of this Aphelios. And 100 Thieves next. While it looks like a weak start, they ended up trading things out evenly in the fight.
Still big shutdowns going on key members of AoE Esports, but you're right, like they still don't end up losing as much as you initially think. But in terms of gold trade, I mean, AoE, that's probably the best they have seen so far in the last 15 minutes there, so that is something to be happy about, especially getting Zamudo, trying to catch him up to Sniper. So far, he has not been the side lane threat that Sniper was on the same pick in Game 1. He hasn't been able to have that same split push presence, hasn't been able to effectively trade for any of the objectives that 100 Next were able to lose here. And we're going to see it again. They catch out Darkwings, and they think they have the angle. They are committing. They are trying to see if they can take somebody down. And the fact that Lynx picks up this gold, that's all well and good. But part of the problem is Lens, you know the saying, ever since he came out, red and white don't fight. And you can see in the background, he's putting out a lot of damage as well on the Aphelios with that Moonlight Vigil. It cost him a lot of summoners, but he was able to help turn things around and buy time for, you guessed it, Sniper to help turn things around.
There's a great bubble there as well by Skytech, who has kind of been struggling to find his placement on the map. I will say that, you know, you have a lot of roam opportunity for Skytech, but he's had to stay really close to Lynx. He hasn't had really... Ooh, oh, I love it. Actives available? Come on. Man, production's amazing on this broadcast. My goodness.
Cool. Yeah, that is... Oh, so it is the... Zanyas we're seeing for Winnie, so he will have stasis available yet again. This is the best chance that AoE are going to get, by the way. They might secure it.
The culling comes out. It was so close, and then Sniper on the backside says, yeah, I can do a little bit of peeling here. That is no members down yet for 100 Thieves next. Now they're just chasing down Winnie, who will not be able to escape from this one. He actually times a flash perfectly. Able to get out there with the blast cone. Will it be enough? Can Lens find him? No, they give it up. All right. Good. Props to you, Winnie. Props to you.
You know what? You're fine. If you're 100, you're not even tripping, Jolly. They got 3 kills, sorry, and they have the Baron buff. This is 30 seconds on 2 key members. They have Baron. They have a wave. They could look to just close the series here and now.
And that is absolutely what they're looking to do. They have the damage to follow it up as well. Not just the Baron-empowered minions, but damage themselves. Sniper going to be able to melt these towers down, as we just saw with the tower with the inhibitor. They've got a fat stack of minions. Darkwing's taking a lot, able to go into stasis, as you mentioned. Skytech just taking too dang much from Len's. Going to be able to follow it up with yet another one, as Fnatic manages to take down that one. And that will be the end of game 2. What seemed to start a lot slower than game number 1 ends up actually ending a minute and a half sooner than game 1 did. 28-30 is all it took for 100 Thieves to say, no, we don't need a next. We are next.
That's right, Jolly. 2-0, 100 Thieves next. Dominating showing, again, from the best projected amateur team we've had pretty much this entire year. Last year, ever since this team's inception, they have been constantly able to bring in new talent who are always able to perform, always able to show up. And that just continues as they punch their spot, or they punch their ticket, rather, for the grand finals taking place tomorrow. And now they're going to watch to see who is going to meet them, whether it's TBA or Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, well, that means that there's a whole other best of 3 series that we have after this. But before we get into that, I want to see what the desk has to say. And I do believe we may have an interview before hopping into that. So we are going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we will at least get a winner's interview before heading into that series number 2. So don't go anywhere. We got plenty more proving grounds ahead of us.
Welcome on back, amigos. We do have my main man, Fnatic. What's going on with you, baby? You good?
Doing great. I'm feeling much better than I was last week, so I think I can shorten my gameplay, and then, ready to just 3-0 tomorrow.
That's crazy. I don't remember asking that question, but sure, man. That's whatever you want to say. Just popping ahead of the curve for me. So you know what? I'll go ahead and answer that. Fnatic, how did you feel about your gameplay today?
I felt pretty good. I think, obviously, it showed in our gameplay. I was very confident going to this week, so.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense with the answer you just said. But I've been going on forward, for sure. We saw how you guys have definitely evolved as a team. But let me go and ask you this right off the bat. One thing that I find that a lot of people peg 100 Thieves as is somebody that, you guys, you are topside kingdom, but when that does not go your way, you are forced to adapt drastically. And I find that happened in game 2. Would you agree or disagree?
Somewhat. I mean, I think even though we have Sniper, I think, it just so happens we've been playing through him through very much as tournament, because I think a lot of the top laners are fairly weak. So, but I think Sniper is a complete player, and he can play to bot side,
Yeah, exactly. And I find that ended up happening, right? Because bot side game number 2, that was a lot of fun. Nami early on in the game, not as fun to probably face, but you guys definitely adapted well. You made sure that Lynx was able, to be able to get enough resources at Aphelios to have enough space to fight. But do you find that in moments like that, you also view yourself as somebody who has to be able to step up to the plate and carry throughout the entire game? Or do you find there are games you can perhaps let people facilitate for you, or let yourself facilitate more so?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can. I mean, I think throughout the tournament, I think I've done both styles. But it just so happens that lately I've been playing pretty well, so.
Which, would you say that you attribute that to anything, or would you say it's just a sort of mentality shift or something or some sort of secret sauce that you've incorporated for you?
Just so happens to be honest.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you had a bit more extra greasy pizza today, and suddenly you all fired up, huh?
Yeah, well, last week I had COVID and I was pretty much dying through our games, so I still somewhat sick, but I think I'm feeling much better than last week's, I said.
I'm very, very happy to hear that as well. Now, going into tomorrow, I imagine you guys feeling just as confident. Is there somebody that, that you want to perhaps beat down extra hard or no?
I don't care. We'll beat any team that we face against.
And are we expecting a 3-0 or no?
Of course.
Of course, that's exactly what we like to hear. And for anybody watching out there, for all your adoring fans of Fnatic, what do you want to say to them?
I just want to say thanks to my family and friends. And I think, at least for me, my career in the last 2 years and a half has been a lot of up and downs, pretty much a roller coaster. So, I appreciate them supporting me.
I appreciate y'all. Shout out to all the families out there. And shout out to you, fan, for showing up so consistently for yourself, for the team, and to put on a fantastic show. Appreciate you, homie. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Well, hey, welcome on back. I gotta say, the confidence that exudes out of Fnatic is abundant. I didn't expect him to be so tall so much so that his camera can't even catch his hulking frame, but I'm impressed in a sense. Veteran, you know, I'm sure you're happy about the result. You got another one, right? I'm sure you're elated.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the streak just keeps going, man. It keeps going.
Are you on a streak of correct predictions, or?
Basically, I got like the first 4 wrong, and then I just kept getting them right after that. So we're just going with that. I never want to get them wrong again.
Okay.
You can't get them wrong again. But I think there was one thing that you were wrong by, Veteran. Let's talk a bit about the draft that was presented in front of us.
Whoa! I was right on this one. Oh, Lord! Wait. No. All I saw from the first 3 picks by AOE was 3 useless champs, and they didn't have Skytech on an engaged champ again. So last time we saw that around neutral objectives, AOE were very indecisive. They kept trying to get Malphite to engage on, say, the flanking Fiora from the replay that we saw, and this would give up their position. Instead of going for more guaranteed engage, they've opted for almost no engage whatsoever. So for AOE, this draft doesn't work very well. And then in general, I find they have multiple champions that just don't have very much use after 20 minutes. Like Lucian is basically an ult bot at that point. Volibear after 6 is already starting to look pretty bad. I feel like they drafted a whole lot of useless champs and they didn't draft towards their strengths. And so they came into this game in a potentially weaker position. But of course, what happened bot lane early actually was a pretty big advantage for them that always turned into something.
This is true. Yeah, you know, Parth, you were talking a lot about the potential of Lucian Nami if he was able to, you know, pop off incidentally. But I find early on, you know, things did go well. We were able to see that in the early replay as well, where AOE, you know, they were starting off hot. Things were going quite well. They were making improvements you wanted to see, and then they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they came into a better plan of what they wanted to do. Obviously, what happened is Lucian and Nami got a solo kill, and it kind of forced 100 Thieves to change their game plan. And you saw Viego spend a lot of time bot lane to help the lane push out and equalize this lane, which is not something that is very, like, they're known for doing and they commonly do. And it gave AOE an opportunity to now attack the top side. If you see on top side over there, you see Jace going down. I think this is like a very different dynamic that I think if AOE had a more stronger, well-rounded draft where they had scaling pieces around, they could have snowballed pretty well. And it does give you kind of an idea of how other teams who are closer in skill level can attack 100 Thieves by kind of pressuring the bot lane and putting them in a position where they're more uncomfortable in playing out the game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, even though it took them... Even though they were actually winning most of the contests, quite clearly they didn't understand how to play out a map state where General Sniper wasn't just ahead in tempo and they couldn't just pivot the whole game around him. So their response to one side of the map bleeding that wasn't him ends up messing with their whole game plan. You do see a weakness there that could potentially be exploited by a team that picks useful champions.
Just one positive thing I want to point out about both teams is, I think compared to the last game, at least AOE was able to contest a lot more of the skirmishes in the mid game. You saw Volibear going in. They did get a few picks off. They were in a position where they were able to steal the Baron. And for 15 and 20 minutes, it did seem like the game was fairly close. But I think that the compositional differences just kind of outshine at the end. And Sniper, even though he was targeted early on and gave up 2 early deaths, did have a meaningful impact in the game as he kept roaming mid, getting picks, and starting the fights for 100x.
So let's talk a bit more about those pivots as well, which I believe both you did raise a little bit ago on how 100 Thieves has managed to make sure that even though they're down in one of the main win conditions being Sniper, they still decide they can do more elsewhere. So bringing up the second replay as well, we do see the Sniper, you know, unfortunately in a second death, as you mentioned before, Parth will likely fall here, but I want to focus more on what 100 Thieves is able to do to win back the game better.
Sure, so...
Well, I mean... Oh,
go
sorry, go Parth.
Go.
Oh my lord, okay, someone's going. Okay, yeah, so here, AOE are simply just ahead on the swap. It's very, very difficult for anybody to actually do a response play on top side here. Okay, so that replay there is obviously just AOE using their bot lane tempo to try to get further ahead against General Sniper. Swapping into General Sniper is obviously a really good strategy for them at this point. Swapping and playing with the Lucian Army is a good strategy for them at this point. At that point, if you wanted to play for General Sniper there, you had to shift them into mid and try to play 2 lanes heavier. So if you could play mid and bot lane there, then they would be in a much better economy position and tempo position later on, because the Lucian Army continue to pivot towards tier 2 tower on top side, but you're winning mid section. Then you can just move from mid towards top side, and they can't bounce off tier 2. You could potentially make a play on them that way. So they end up having to match you, and suddenly the game's back on your tempo. What actually ended up happening in the game is that when you got towards these contests, Sniper on the Jace was able to make some pretty heavy burst pick on those contests, but it wasn't map-based things like the thing I'm outlining here that was able to get them back in the game. It was just when push came to serve in these fights, the AoE composition, whereas it could do something at the start of these fights, once the Lucian ult was down, once the initial volley bear burst was down, they didn't have that kind of consistent DPS you'd want. Say if you had like a Nazir in the midsection or something to make up for the lack of damage that they had with the Lucian overall.
On the other end, though, we did see, because adaptations, of course, that happened for AoE, as you mentioned before, things did progress forward quite well for themselves, but 100 Thieves, their dominant streak continues to show. Now, with this, they have obviously locked in a spot of finals, a whole lot of PGCQ points, and Fnatic was already mentioning that now that the team is feeling quite in tip-top shape, and I think they are ready to face any and all opponents. That being, though, our next matchup, which is coming up decently soon, is opponents that I think they might have to fear a little bit more. That being TBA, right? Because TBA as well has been on such a hot streak that there seems to be no stopping them. But one team might be able to do so. That being the Cincinnati Fear. Robbie Bob last week did mention that this was a team that they're very much looking forward to facing and running it back to show just how strong they can be. And currently right now, neither team shows any signs of stopping. So will it be smiles all around, or will we all come down with the face of Rhythmia? Who knows? I don't know yet. After this break though, we can all find out. See you back in a bit.